إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا شبيه ولا مثيل له ولا ضد ولا ند ولا جسد ولا صورة ولا أعضاء له. كان الله ولا مكان، فهو الآن على ما عليه كان. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال، ولله المثل الأعلى. تنزه ربي عن الجلوس والقعود، وعن الحركة والسكون، وعن الاتصال والانفصال. لا يحل فيه شيء ولا ينحل منه شيء ولا يحل هو في شيء، لأنه ليس كمثله شيء. مهما تصورت ببالك فالله لا يشبه ذلك. ومن وصف الله بمعنى من معاني البشر فقد كفر. وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه وخليله، أرسله الله هدى ورحمة للعالمين، هاديا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا وهاجا وقمرا منيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وأعظم وأنعم وأكرم على هذا النبي الكريم سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين، كلما ذكره الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله، الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله، الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه. أما بعد فنذكر أنفسنا بإخلاص النية لله تعالى في حضور هذا المجلس، مجلس علم الدين، لأن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وصفه بروضة من رياض الجنة، ولأن الملائكة تحف مجالس علم الدين، فتنزل في هذه المجالس بركات وأسرار. I praise Allah and glorify Him, and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gives without Him being obligated. And I ask Allah Ta'ala to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and to protect His Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe, and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne, and He is not attributed with fatigue, like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and His final prophet and messenger sent to all humans and jinn. And He is truthful about everything that He conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, we remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending this session of Islamic knowledge, because having a sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deeds that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise will be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the good deed, seeking the acceptance of Allah only, and not the praise of the people. So alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah that we have been guided to Islam, which is the greatest endowment. And we are grateful and we are thankful to Allah that we have been given access to the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, authenticated and validated with the connected chains of transmission. Because it is, as the great Imams have said, لولا الإسناد لقال من شاء ما شاء, which means if it were not for the chains of transmission, then anyone would say anything. What does that mean? It means that the way that the Islamic knowledge is authenticated and validated, yani the way that what the person speaks about Islam, the way that it is validated and authenticated is through the chain of transmission. Because in Islam, there is no room for whimsical opinions. In Islam, there is no room for whimsical inclinations and preferences. Everything that we do in our day-to-day lives, everything that we lean towards or that we don't lean towards, the religion of Islam has a judgment for it. So whoever is not aligned with the Islamic law, then that person is at fault. And if the person wants to be standing on the high moral ground, if the person wants to be on the right side, then he has to be aligned with the Islamic law. So we are grateful to Allah that we have access to that information. We are grateful to Allah that we have been guided to know and learn and acquire the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, because the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah is the key to paradise, and the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah is the life of Al-Islam. Continuing on with our subject matter, Collection of Goodness, Volume 1, which is a compilation of lessons that were given by the great scholar, the great wali, Shaykh Abdullah, the son of Muhammad al-Harari, that he gave throughout his life, that were documented and written down and preserved by his closest and best students. And so they put those lessons into a book, they compiled those lessons, and they published it. And that happened to be translated into English. So we have gotten to page 61. Whoever has a copy of the book, we're on page 61, lesson 11. And the title of this lesson is Humbleness. MashaAllah, this is a characteristic that most Muslims, they do not pay attention to. And most people, of course, the kuffar, they're far from humble. Because they're egotistical and self-centered in the sense that if it comes to between them and another person, when it comes to a worldly matter, they're willing to do injustice to that person so they can get that worldly matter over them. And they have a lot of things that they do in their norms, that is the opposite of humbleness. So this lesson is about humbleness, and it is a virtue, meaning that it is a component of the perfect Muslim. So whoever is a perfect Muslim, then among their traits and attributes is humbleness. The author, rahimahullah, said, a lesson given by the muhaddith, the one detached from the worldly matters, Shaykh Abdullah, the son of Muhammad al-Abdari. May Allah Ta'ala have mercy upon him. In Beirut, and this lesson took place in Beirut. And it explains about the virtue of humbleness and its benefits. This lesson was heard from him by Shaykh Samir, the son of Sami al-Qadi, Shaykh Nabil, the son of Muhammad al-Sharif, Shaykh Jamil, the son of Muhammad Halim, Shaykh Muhammad, the son of Mustafa al-Bakri, and Shaykh Abdul Razzaq, the son of Muhammad al-Sharif. May Allah Ta'ala bless them, protect them, have mercy upon them, and benefit us from their blessings. And because these close students of Shaykh Abdullah, rahimahullah, they benefited in a great way, knowledge-wise and spiritually. So they have been endowed with many blessings. And the person would not be exaggerating, or the person would not be saying something far-fetched if he said about these men that they were righteous and that they were scholars. Shaykh Abdullah, may Allah have mercy upon him, said, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. To him belong the endowments and proper commendations. May Allah raise the rank of our master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his Muslim relatives, and protect his nation from that which the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam fears for it. Thereafter the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, إِنَّكُمْ لَتَغْفُلُونَ عَنْ أَفْضَلِ الْعِبَادَةِ التَّوَاضُعُ. So this is the terms of the hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said those words, and this hadith is Hasan. It means, certainly, some of you are not paying attention to one among the best rewardable acts, humbleness. And so the Prophet ﷺ, when he said this, he was addressing some of his companions. Not, of course, the category of companions like Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and Sa'd and Sa'id and Talha and Az-Zubayr and Bilal. These companions are the elite amongst the companions, but not every companion was of the caliber of Abu Bakr or Umar or Uthman or Ali or the other great companions. Not every companion was like that. There were some companions who didn't pray, some companions who didn't fast, some companions who fornicated, some companions who stole. There were some companions that they weren't perfect, they weren't knowledgeable, some of them were ignorant, etc. So the Prophet ﷺ was addressing a group amongst the companions, and he was giving them this advice. And it doesn't mean that the Prophet ﷺ was telling the likes of Abu Bakr that he is not paying attention to humbleness. Because obviously Abu Bakr, and he was humble because he was a perfect Muslim. It is a confirmed hadith narrated by Al-Hafiz Ibn Hajar. The meaning of the hadith is not that humbleness is the best rewardable act of all. Rather, it means that it is among the best rewardable acts. Humbleness leads to achieving the lofty ranks, and humbleness would be with the Muslim, the old and young, and with those who have a high social status, and with those who do not have a high social status. If it weren't for their humbleness, the prophets would not have instructed the people. Furthermore, humbleness has a part that follows it, which is being slow to anger. humbleness and not being easily provoked to anger go together. Some scholars said that being slow to anger is the decoration of knowledge. So, humbleness, the opposite of arrogance, it leads to the lofty ranks. The Muslim, he gets a great reward and a great elevation in status whenever he is humble. من تواضع لله درجة رفعه الله درجة. Which means the one who is humble for the sake of Allah, he gets rewarded by Allah. And so always the Muslim who chooses humbleness, he comes out winning. And the part about being slow to anger, when someone is humble, a result of being humble is that the person is slow to anger. So he is not easily provoked. So for example, you might do something that triggers the person, but he won't have any idea. So he might feel it, and he might feel it within, but he doesn't show it. No matter what you do to poke that person, they won't boil over, and they won't indulge in their anger. So they won't blow up on you, they won't snap at you, they won't yell or raise their voice, even though they're being bothered and poked, even though they're being provoked. So this is called al-hilm in Arabic. It's one of those words in Arabic that they don't have a one-word translation in another language, or at least in English. But so the Shaykh is saying that this trait of humbleness and being slow to anger, they go together. They go with each other. He said, التواضع والحلم مقرونان. And it means that they go together. Among what is narrated from our Master Isa sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his saying in describing the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, علماء حكماء حلماء كأنهم من الفقه أنبياء. Which means scholars, wise, slow to anger. It is as if they are prophets from how knowledgeable they are in the revealed law. This means that the scholars of the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, this is their description. And because of how much knowledge they are endowed with, it is as if they are prophets. And this is a praise coming from Prophet Jesus alayhi salam about the scholars of the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So it is something that is a tradition within the nation of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam that you have a large number of Muslims that memorize the whole Quran from beginning to end. In the previous nations, this wasn't common. You have something common in the nation of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that you have the scholars of Islam, that they are trustworthy and that they have the highest levels of integrity, for the majority. Meaning that there is this system of checks and balances based on the objective truth of what the Islamic law brings, that if there were a person who had a lot of knowledge and therefore considered a scholar, if they were to say something that is a mistake, it's an error, then the other scholars, they would point it out, and they would explain, and they would give the proofs, and they would show why that statement is incorrect, etc. In the context of advising and rectifying. And the scholars of Islam, it is common amongst them that they perfectly follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they have the high regard and esteem for the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they put the effort to imitate the Prophet ﷺ in everything. Because part of what goes in hand with the knowledge is the practice. And so the scholars, the more they know, so the more things that they know to implement, so the more they know, for example, about the lifestyle of the Prophet ﷺ, then they would try to live their lives exactly like that. If they know how the Prophet ﷺ slept, they sleep like that. If they know how the Prophet ﷺ ate, they eat like that. If they know how the Prophet ﷺ treated his family members or his friends or people in society, they would strive to do that. If the Prophet ﷺ, certain things would make him upset, they would get upset for those things. If the Prophet ﷺ would be happy, made happy by certain things, they would show happiness for those things. So they tried to imitate exactly how the Prophet ﷺ is. And so when it comes to the law, it's also common amongst the scholars of Islam that they have these highly intelligent minds. And so they're able to understand the revealed law with the proper understanding, without perverting, while being loyal to what the Prophet ﷺ came with. Not going off the mark, not going astray, not making things up. They stick to the law. And so this is the praise that Prophet Isa alayhi salam was giving and saying about the scholars of the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Meaning that, and this is something that, like a specialty that's given to the nation of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In the nations of the past, the prophets, some prophets they only had one follower, some prophets they only had two followers. The followers of the Muslims from the time of Prophet Musa, 70,000 of them when he was doing the 40 days of worship on the mountain, 70,000 of the Muslims who were taken out of Egypt and they crossed over the Red Sea and they witnessed the miracle and they were saved from the tyranny of the Pharaoh, 70,000 of them, in the absence of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, they worshipped the calf. They worshipped an idol. And then after that, things happen after that. Later on, eventually, those who were supposed to be the scholars from the children of Israel, what did they do? They started writing things with their own hand and claiming it is revealed by Allah. That's the legacy of them. And eventually they all became astray until now whoever claims to be Jewish and claims to be a follower of Moses, they're misguided, they're kafir. They did not stick to the original message of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And for Prophet Isa, it happened even faster. Immediately after the companion of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, or when he was being crucified, some of the companions of Prophet Isa, they committed blasphemy. And they started saying that he's the son of God. Some of them were saying that he's God. Some of them were confused, like, who's that being crucified? If it's not Isa, then where is he? And if it's our companion, then where is Isa? So they were confused fast. And then they split up they went astray into the different groups until they all became extinct and they all became misguided. And there was no more surviving message of Prophet Isa for a gap of time, and for a long time. This is called the second era of ignorance. The first one between Prophet Idris and Prophet Nuh. The second one is between Prophet Isa and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But for the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from the beginning, the companions, the majority of them were a lot of them, they were elite. They obeyed the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They didn't give him a hard time. Whatever he said, they did. They adhered to the law. For example, when the verse of the prohibition of alcohol was revealed, the scholars, they mentioned that the streets of Al-Medina ran with rivers of wine. Because now they know that it's haram, so they took all the wine that they had and they spilled it in the streets. Immediately, right away. They didn't drag their feet to obey the command of Allah. And so the scholars amongst the nation of the Prophet ﷺ, they have integrity, they're trustworthy, they're meticulous, they're accurate. They go to a far extent to make sure that they are conveying what is correct. They're very careful, very cautious. So this is a great praise from Prophet Isa alayhi salam for the nation of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Being slow to anger is a part of humbleness. Therefore, let each one of us act with his brother in this way. In the way of humbleness and being slow to anger and to pardon maltreatment. That is, the Muslims should be treating each other with pardoning, forgiving, and clemency. Allahu Akbar. What a beautiful and happy world would it be if everyone practiced that. And what does it mean? It's not, be, someone is nice and cordial and soft with someone who's being nice and cordial and stroking their ego as well. Because that's easy. Someone comes to you, smiles at you, makes you feel like you're the center of attention, like you're a superstar. You're going to be nice and humble unless, you're a wretched person. إِلَّا إِذَا كَانَ لَئِيمًا إِذَا كَانَ مِنَ اللِّئَامِ الَّذِي يُحْسِنُ إِلَيْهِ قَدْ يُقَالْ يُسِيءُ إِلَيْهِ أَكْثَرُ. Subhanallah. عَافَانَ اللَّهِ. May Allah protect us from that. Ameen. But usually the norm is if someone is nice to you and they're making you the center of attention and they're being polite and humble towards you, then you're also going to be responsive in that way. It's going to be easy for you to smile at them and, sure, whatever you need, sure, whatever you want. Do you need this? Do you need that? But how about the person who is rude to you? How about the person who rubs you the wrong way? How about the person that triggers you with their each waking moment? This is the one that is the true test, and how you can tell if you're implementing this. So that's how the Muslims should be treating each other. So this is something that you should take in your heart. That just because someone is a Muslim, that you can do all those things. Whether you know them or you don't know them, whether they did you wrong in the past or not, whether the sight of them makes something happen to your heart, whether that's the case or not, you can still be forgiven. Whether that's the case or not, you can still be pardoning. Whether that's the case or not, you can still be merciful. Because it just comes back to you. Do you want to have the type of character that is based on how people are or the virtue that you're trying to achieve? So basically you don't say, oh, this person is rude and petty, so I'm going to reciprocate because they were that. No, instead, how they act and what they choose to do is a reflection of them and whatever character that they have. But your character, you should keep your virtue. If someone is petty or does something to you or mistreats you, then you should not lose your virtue because of that. Rather, you should stay on the high moral ground. Among the etiquettes in Islam is to revere the elder and to be merciful to the young one. The elder is the one to be given the front seat in the session. And when it comes to speaking, one waits until the elder begins to speak. And if the speech is in the context of counsel, the young one should not go first. So this is among the etiquettes. So what does that mean? The etiquettes of Islam. This is not based on like some cultural thing. So the Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَا يُوَقِّرُ كَبِيرَنَا وَيَرْحَمُ صَغِيرَنَا. So the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged his nation to revere the elder. Yeah, to have respect for the elder. What does that mean? So for example, if there's a seat, there's no other seat and you're sitting down and an elder comes in, you give them the seat. If they walk into the room, let's say like your mother or your father or someone like that, you stand for them. If it's a session of like a gathering and someone's going to speak, then the elder speaks first. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah Ta'ala revealed to him that the acceptance of Allah is confirmed for those who love each other for His sake, yani with sincerity. And the acceptance of Allah is confirmed for those who advise each other for His sake, yani in sincerity to Allah. And the acceptance of Allah is confirmed for those who keep the ties for His sake, okay, the ties of kinship. And the acceptance of Allah is confirmed for those who give each other gifts for His sake. We should implement these attributes so that in the hereafter we would be happily meeting each other. So that's a Qudsi hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, قال الله تعالى حقت محبتي للمتحابين في وحقت محبتي للمتناصحين في وحقت محبتي للمتواصلين في وحقت محبتي للمتباذلين في. Which means that Allah Ta'ala has guaranteed the reward for the Muslims that have these attributes. What are they? That they love each other for the sake of Allah. Yani they love each other with sincerity to Allah. Yani that they love each other for what the religion encourages them to and not for a worldly matter. So for example, because that person is a Muslim, he loves him for the sake of Allah. And he loves the goodness for him. He wants what's best for him. He doesn't allow him to destroy himself or do something that is going to harm him in the hereafter. And for example, so if he notices something from a Muslim, he advises him. He tells him. And also the reward, the acceptance of Allah is guaranteed for those that advise each other. And for those that keep the ties of kinship, and for those that give each other gifts. Among what follows humbleness is cooperation, because the one who is consistent in humbleness, he cooperates with his brothers, and so the goodness and the benefit will maximize. Yani, a result of humbleness is, if your Muslim brother tells you to do something, you do it. No questions asked, as long as it's not forbidden. And especially when it comes to working together. Because if, let's say, you're working together, and that kind of means, like, there is no, like, officially binding infrastructure, right? It's not like it's the mayor, or the president, or the governor, or the police officer, or the judge, right? It's like-minded individuals that have come together for the same objective, to spread Islam, to teach the truth, to refute blasphemy, to teach people how to be better Muslims, how to fulfill their obligations, to teach people the correct creed, to teach people how to recite al-Fatiha, how to make wudu, right? That's the objective. So we're all working together. And we have willingly, right? We have willingly, let's say, accepted and chosen that, for example, this individual among us, he's going to be our leader, or he's going to be the one that makes the decisions. So we willingly go into that, and we willingly participate. So how is it going to be smooth? The way it's going to be smooth is, if, let's say, your brother tells you, do this, you do it. You don't ask 50 questions, why and how and what if, and how come, and what about this, and what about that? Because then nothing would be done. Right? If you're going back and forth, if you're questioning everything, then how would something get done? But if the person is humble, they just say, okay, I'll do it. You want me to do this? Okay, I'll do it. You want me to sit here? Okay, I'll sit here. You want me to go up there? Okay, I'll go up there. You want me to walk over there? Okay, I'll walk over there. You want me to carry this over here? Okay, I'll carry this over here. You want me to give the lesson at this time? I'll give the lesson at this time. You want the subject matter of the lesson to be this? Okay, I'll let the subject matter of the lesson be this. That comes with being humble. It's a result of being humble. Because the person basically is setting his ego aside. He's not thinking, oh, why are they telling me to do it at this time instead of that time? Or how come they asked me to go and walk over here and not that person? And is it because they think of me this or think of me that? No, I will be that. Those are demonic thoughts. This is whispers of the shaitan and the evil of the nafs. So if the person is humble, then it would be easy for them to just do. So that's why, and it's something that you have to work on. But something that makes it easy to do is understanding that you're doing it for yourself. And what are you doing it for? Is it for critical acclaim? Like the type of work and the type of things that we're doing is not for critical acclaim. Because it's very niche, it's very specific. The type of work that we're doing, is it to become a billionaire? There's not much let's say, money to be made in this when you're literally, let's say, someone just embraced Islam and let's say they don't have a woman and she doesn't have like the scarves and stuff like that, so what do? You give them a scarf, or if it's a brother, you give him a qalansuwa, you give him a thobe, you give him a dhikr beads, you give him a siwak, you give him a book. All that costs money, right? Who's going to pay for it? Not the new Muslim. Not the new Muslim. You're not going to tell them, all right, that's a book, a kufi, a thobe, a siwak, a dhikr beads, perfume. That's going to be a total of $50. You're not going to do that. We're not in this. Not the reason we're in this is not to become financially independent. Rather, you're going to have to make an investment beyond what you feed yourself and beyond what you spend on yourself for luxurious dunya matters that are not rewardable. Then you're going to spend money to help, or to give this new Muslim a book, or to, let's say, give this Muslim a ride to the musalla, or this or that. And you're spending for what? For your hereafter. So, if it's not, you're not doing it for critical acclaim, if you know that already. You're not doing it to become wealthy, because it is literally, in that sense, there's no money in it. So then what are you doing it for? Are you doing it so that you can feel like you are the emperor of a pile of rocks? Right? Like, it's just a pile of rocks. So you're doing it for what? Your hereafter, for your grave. And because that opportunity that you have working within this organization is that because of you doing that good deed, the residual benefit that occurs from it is going to benefit you after you're dead. That's the real goal. That for after you're dead, you're still getting rewards because of a good deed that you did in the da'wah that results in a continuous benefit. Teaching someone to recite Al-Fatiha properly. Every time they recite it properly, you get a similar reward. Teaching someone the obligatory knowledge. Every time they implement it, you get a similar reward. Teaching someone how to pray. Every time that they pray, you get a similar reward. And so on. So if that's the case, and the person who you have willingly accepted that they are, let's say, the one in charge. If they say do this, you do it. If they say don't do this, you don't do it. And you don't make it messy and say, oh, they're telling me to do this or not do this because they have something against me or because they're trying to do injustice to me. Because in reality, where's the injustice? Did they take your father's property? Did they, for example, that building or that place or that position, that's your father's or your mother's? It was unjustly taken from you? It was something that was yours? No, it's something that is not yours. So whoever has the possession of, or whoever has the authority in that, they decide. So that's how it is. If something is yours, then you decide what to do with it. And that's how it goes. So humbleness helps that. And it helps for the person internally, so that they don't get bombarded by the whispers of the shaitan and they don't start to think wild thoughts. And it helps them to just do what is beneficial. And by doing that, and by overcoming the obstacle of the ego, they get rewarded. مَنْ تَوَاضَعَ لِلَّهِ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ. The one who is humble for the sake of Allah, he gets elevated by Allah. So isn't that the objective? Or do you want to try and have the so-called worldly elevation, which is like, having your ego be the winner, having your word be over somebody else's word, for the nafs, what they call in Arabic, الانتصار النفس. هذا لا يقترن مع التواضع. لا يحصل هذا الانتصار للنفس، لا يحصل مع وجود التواضع. بل مع وجود التواضع الشخص يقول نفسي في الأخير وأنا في الأخير، يعني في الأمر الدنيوي وليس في الأمر الأخروي. في الأمر الأخروي ينبغي للإنسان أن يتقدم له وأن لا يقدم غيره، بل هو يقدم نفسه، يعني لا يجعل تلك الفرصة لأجل الثواب أن يذهب لغيره. أما في الأمر الدنيوي فيقدم غيره على نفسه، يؤثر غيره على نفسه. أما الإيثار في القرب فهذا مكروه، لا ينبغي ذلك. When it comes to the worldly matter, you should give the precedence to someone other than yourself. When it comes to the rewardable matter, to get reward, then you should give yourself precedence over somebody else. So giving someone else precedence over yourself in a rewardable matter is disliked. It should not happen. So let's look at the good result of following humbleness and how it facilitates cooperation. And because of that cooperation, great benefits occur. Mu'adh, the son of Jabal, may Allah Ta'ala accept his deeds, and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, may Allah Ta'ala accept his deeds, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent them to Yemen to spread Islam. So each one of them used to work in a region. One of them worked in the highlands and the other in the lowlands. Then after some time they used to meet and benefit from the other by the opinion of his brother, and so the benefit from them was great. This is the fruit of cooperation and humbleness, and so this is the way that we should proceed. I just want to make a note that it is okay, right? It is okay to suggest, and to make a suggestion when you feel or when you see that perhaps that thing might be better. So with a proper view and understanding of the situation. And there's something that scientists, they talk about, I forget the name of it, it's one of those like weird sciencey things where they call it like the something Kruger effect, I don't know what it is. But they say that a person, right, he would have a certain knowledge about something. He'd have a certain knowledge about something, but it's limited. But in that limited scope of the knowledge that he has, that person, and they think that they're right about something. But then if they found out a little bit more, then they would see that they're wrong, that they were wrong. And so, if you're going to suggest something, and make sure that that's not the case. When you have like a well-rounded understanding of something, then in that case suggest, because it is a fundamental of the sincere Muslim that he wants the greater benefit, and is a fundamental of the humble Muslim that he is going to go with someone's suggestion if it actually was better instead of their own, without thinking or looking at it from the personal perspective, without looking at it like, well, I'm going to go with what I said because it's me instead of what that person said. So you can suggest, but in a humble way. For example, you say, oh sir, what do you think of this or that? Or how about if such and such? And in that way, so that the benefit can occur. So it doesn't mean that you are not allowed, or that it's not praiseworthy to, make a suggestion. That's not the case. Because it's just about what's the greater benefit. The issue where the conflict happens and where the friction occurs is when the issues that are the opposite of humbleness, they come into play. Like, I'm not going to do what you said just because you told me to do it, or I'm not going to cooperate just because I don't agree. That's where the issue comes from. And I'm not saying that the person would be sinful for that. Don't misunderstand me. Because in this, any voluntary participation, really, at the end of the day, as long as you're not doing injustice or transgressing the boundaries, you're not going to be sinful. If, like, let's say, someone told you to do something that's not an obligation, and you refused, right? And there was no harm to the da'wah, there was no anything like that, then you're not sinful. You just didn't have that ideal virtue of being humble. You didn't have the perfection, but you wouldn't be sinful. Where it would be sinful is if the person lets their not humbleness cause them to think ill, cause them to talk bad, cause them to you think things that are not correct. This is what would be detrimental and negative. And also, another negative side effect of that is that you're missing out on the reward. Yes, you stood your ground, and yes, you said no, and yes, you didn't do what you were told to do or what you were requested to do, but now you missed out on an opportunity for a reward. But humbleness, it gives the person clarity, and it makes things easy for the person to decide. What is meant by keeping the ties is for each of those who love each other for the sake of Allah to visit his brother. Also, the Qudsi hadith is not specific to keeping the ties of kinship. That is, he does not cut off visiting him, because by staying in touch, the benefit becomes apparent for both sides. As for giving each other gifts, it means for this one to give the other something, even if it was a siwak. And the other gives his brother something that he is able to give. And this is among what makes loving each other stronger. This is the Islamic etiquette. In this age, revering the elder has become less, to the extent that the son might sit in the front of his father in the session. And this is among the ill manners. It's not sinful, but it's not the good manners. So the students in school should be disciplined, and they should be taught this good etiquette. Allah Ta'ala knows best. But subhanAllah, it is as if in our times, the thing is backwards. It is as if in our times, they're putting the younger one, putting him at the front of the session, making sure that he's pampered, making sure that, as if Yeah, the body language is this person is like the king and everybody else is his servant. Is the drink okay? Is it too cold? Is it too hot? How about the AC? Is it too cold? Or are you comfortable in your chair? Do you want another chair? Or stuff like that. It's as if that's the case nowadays with the young. Subhanallah. So we're going to start a little bit of lesson 12 because it's not 9:30 exactly yet. That concludes lesson 11, so we're going to start with lesson 12, page 64. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Lesson 12, the judgment of cussing the Muslim. This lesson was given by the Muhaddith, the scholar of the Islamic law, Shaykh Abdullah, the son of Muhammad al-Abdari. May Allah have mercy upon him, in the year 1998 or 1999. Whoa! All the, what is it they call it? Generation Z? Generation X? No, our generation. Because in 1999, we were there. Even though that seems like a long time right now, subhanAllah. So this Shaykh, mashallah, he was giving this class in 1998, 1999. Where were we? And it explains about the judgment of cussing the Muslim. And cussing the Muslim, yani insulting. So it's not specifically that you say a profanity at them. Not that you use a profanity to them. Not just that, yani that's included, but any other insult. And it explains about the judgment of cussing the Muslim and when it is permissible to reply with the same, along with explaining the virtue of what is better. This lesson was heard from him by the Shaykh Samir, the son of Sami al-Qadi, and the Shaykh Nabil, the son of Muhammad al-Sharif. May Allah Ta'ala bless them, protect them, have mercy upon them, and benefit us from their blessings. Ameen. So this one was those two Shaykhs, mashallah. Shaykh Abdullah, may Allah have vast mercy upon him, said, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. To him belong the endowments and proper commendations. May Allah raise the rank of our Master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his Muslim relatives and protect his nation from that which the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam fears for it. Thereafter, from the route of Sulaim, the son of Jabir, may Allah accept his deeds, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, just to read the terms, وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ عَيَّرَكَ بِمَا لَا يَعْلَمُ فِيكَ فَلَا تُعَيِّرْهُ بِمَا تَعْلَمُ فِيهِ. It means if someone dishonors you with what he does not know is in you, then do not dishonor him with what you know is in him. And if someone insults you with something that is not true about you, right? They said, for example, you're a mean person. They said to you, you're a mean person, when you're like one of the nicest people. So in their anger, they're saying things that are not true and they're just spewing. But you know, for example, that they are, let's say, an enormous sinner. So you don't tell them you're an enormous sinner. So they're telling you something that's not true about you. They're saying that you're a mean person. You know about them like that they're wicked, so you don't tell them, oh, you're wicked. You don't say what's true about them. You don't dishonor them with what's true about them. The Prophet ﷺ meant by this hadith to teach his nation what is better. So in this narration, the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us what is the ideal. Otherwise, the Prophet ﷺ has made a facility for the one who replies to the insult with the same thing if that did not contain any lie. So in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us, don't do this. If someone slanders you, don't reply with what is true about them. So that particular narration tells us what? That that's what's better to do. Not that that's what you're obligated to do. The Prophet ﷺ said, المستبان ما قالا فعل البادي منهما حتى يعتدي المظلوم. Allah Akbar. How often does that happen? That's like the catalyst, that's the spark. And the shaitan waiting in the wings when it happens, and then boom, 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 1, 2, 3, escalated. It started off with an angry term, an angry word, not even an insult, or it started off with even a look or this or that. Then it escalated to a word, a question that doesn't have an insult, and then an attitude, and then an insult, and then a curse, and then a hit, and then a murder. If you want to take it to the extreme. Sometimes these steps in the middle are skipped and immediately goes to murder. Sometimes. So that hadith means that the two who are insulting each other, what they say, the blame is on the one who started it, until the one who was done injustice to transgresses. Allahu Akbar. How amazing is the Islamic law? And the one who started it, they're in the wrong, for sure. And that one who was oppressed, yani the madloom, the one who was done injustice to, he remains blame-free until he transgresses. So because that one that started it, he did the injustice first, that second one who was done the injustice to, he would then transgress. Yani then he would become the unjust one too. This means that the one who responds with something similar will not be sinful. And because the Prophet ﷺ said transgresses, meaning he crossed the line. But if he responds with something that does not cross the line, he's not sinful. It's permissible. Here there are two hadiths. The first hadith is from the route of Sulaim, the son of Jabir, may Allah raise his rank. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, and if someone dishonors you with what he does not know is in you, then you do not dishonor him with what you know is in him. This hadith means that what is better is to pardon the one who dishonors you and insults you, and so you do not respond to him. So you don't respond. And so they said, you're a mean person and you're of low intelligence and you are worthless and you are vile and you are unsuccessful, etc. They're insulting you, you don't respond. That's the best. This is what is better. If he insults you with something that is not in you, that is, he lied about you, then do not respond to him. That is, this is better for you. And that's what the hadith means. Don't do it, meaning it's better if you don't do it. And the second hadith states that the two who are insulting each other, what they say, the blame is on the one who started it until the one who was done injustice to transgresses. This means if two people insult each other, then the sin is on the one who started it. The one who started it is the one who suffers the negative consequence. As for the one who responds with what is the same without lying, there is no sin on him because he took his right from the one who insulted first. But there's a detail for that. That if the person responds with something similar without transgressing, then he loses out on getting his payback on Judgment Day. If he doesn't respond and he stays quiet, then on Judgment Day, he's going to be able to get his payback. And if that person had repented, then Allah Ta'ala will grant him from what he owns. Allah Ta'ala will give him whatever he wills. But if he did not repent, then he's going to take from his good deeds, and when they run out, he's going to give him his bad deeds. But if the person responds, then he loses that. And on Judgment Day, he won't get his payback from that. The first hadith is understood to be as a choice, that is, the better option to choose. And the second hadith is understood as the permissibility, that is, it is permissible for the one who is insulted to respond with the same insult as long as it is not a lie. As for if a person insults another person by saying something that is not true about him, the one who is insulted is not allowed to respond back with something similar that is a lie about the first. If the one who started it lied, then why would the second one lie? Why would he respond with a lie? He should not respond. It is incumbent upon him to not respond with the same, because if he responds with that, he would be lying like the first one lied. However, if it was not lying and he responds to him the insult with one insult, he did not insult him with two insults, with one insult, so he took his right, he fulfilled his right, and so there is no sin on him. Therefore, you should work according to this hadith, because most people, if they were insulted once, they would add, Allahu Akbar. How often have we seen that? One person, he tells that person, you're a donkey. And then that person says, you're a donkey, you're a thief, you're a fornicator, your mother's a fornicator, your father's a fornicator, your sister's a fornicator. And they go and go and go and go, and na'udhu billah. This is enormous sin on top of enormous sin on top of enormous sin. Usually they would add. And so this one who responds would not be safe since he added. Both of them are not safe. Hence the one to whom it is said, O tyrant, and so he responds by saying to him, O tyrant, this person has taken his right. So there is no sin on him. But if he adds to that another insult, and so he says, O tyrant, O thief, this person falls in an enormous sin because he did not limit himself to the amount of his right, and Allah Ta'ala knows best. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make our final words, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If there are no questions, we'll conclude. Anyone in the chat, if you have a question, put it in the chat. طيب. No? طيب نهلل لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات وبارك الله فيكم السلام عليكم